Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to our session 26. Today we're going to continue with our science lessons. We're going to need our content areas, the reading projects, and the exercises of the reading projects. Please fetch them. The title of today's book is Space Camp. Introduction: From Space Camp to Space. In 1990, sixth grader Kate Robbins went off to camp. The camps she attended wasn't the kind of place where she roasted marshmallows over a campfire dough. This was a space camp. It was a place where kids learned about space exploration. Kate had told her parents that she dreamt of becoming an astronaut and a scientist. Here we can see in the bottom the entrance and habitat where campers stay at United States Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. In the picture, Takuya Onishi, Anatoly Ivanishin, and Kate Robbins fly to the ISS in July 2016. 26 years later, a group of young trainees took their seats in a theater. At that same camp, they watched a broadcast of the liftoff of a giant rocket. On board was a fresh crew for the International Space Station, ISS, orbiting more than 322 kilometers or 200 miles above Earth. One of the astronauts on that rocket was Dr. Kate Robbins, the same person who had attended the camp in 1990 when she was a sixth grader. For years, she had worked as a scientist. Then, she trained to be an astronaut with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. Finally, she was blasting off to serve on a 4-month mission on the ISS. She had fulfilled her childhood dream of becoming an astronaut and flying into space. The Pathfinder is a model of a space shuttle that is on permanent display near the Space Camp in Alabama. Space camps around the world. Space camps allow young people to learn about space science. Programs teach about the history of space exploration. Some projects focus on rockets and the machines used in space. Campers also go through some astronaut training. They try out equipment astronauts use to prepare for their missions. Today, space camps have taken off in many places. One camp is at the United States Space and Rocket Center located in Huntsville, Alabama. There, space camp trainees can see giant rockets and space capsules. The spacecraft astronauts fly in. More than 750,000 trainees have attended that space camp since it opened in 1982. They have come from all 50 states in the United States and more than 60 other countries. Some museums in the United States host space camps too. For instance, children can attend space camp at the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Texas. In Florida, there is Camp Kennedy Space Center. In Washington, District of Columbia, the Smithsonian Association hosts several summer day camps. They even have space-related programs for children as young as kindergarten age. Space camps are also popular around the globe. In Canada, the Cosmodrome hosts 3-day camps and other programs. Space Camp Turkey is located in Izmir, one of Turkey's biggest cities. Russian Space Camp includes about Russia's amazing history of space exploration. Here we have space camps worldwide, all of them for students and kids. Going to space camp. Space camps are available to nearly everyone. At some camps, younger kids go with their family. Camps for older kids are grouped by age. Some space camps hold sessions for trainees with visual and hearing impairments. What's the meaning of that? Kids who cannot see, or cannot listen, or cannot talk. Space camps mostly concentrate on space history and science. At many of these camps, trainees study rocketry. They build and launch their own model rockets. At others, they research spacecraft construction before designing their own spaceship. This is an example of a timetable or a schedule or a schedule. A day at space camp. Below is an example of a day in the life of a space camper. This is the time. Let's read the activities. Get ready and eat breakfast. Ride simulators. Leadership and team building activities. Lunch in the crew galley. Astronaut training simulator. Rocket construction. Movie showing. Simulated mission training. Dinner. Learn about space flight history. Engineering workshop. Go home and prep for bed. Pay attention, what time is dinner? And what time is lunch? I told you that's why they divide the day into morning, noon or the afternoon, night and evening. Space camps about robotics are also popular. Robotics is an important part of space exploration. Rovers that have explored Mars are good examples. Robotics trainees build robots and program them to do tasks. Teams may face off in a robotics competition at the end of camp. Children aren't having all the fun though. Many space camps host adults from around the world. Some science teachers attend so they can bring new lessons back to their schools to teach future space explorers. In the illustration, a NASA astronaut and educator test drives a robotic rover built in a space camp program. Astronaut training. Many space camps have simulators for campers to try. These pieces of equipment help astronauts train for the missions. Astronauts must practice for every situation they might deal with in space. For trainees, simulators let them experience some of the same challenges. While trainees are on the simulators, an adult always watches them for safety. The Multi-Axis Trainer. The Multi-Axis Trainer, MAT, lets astronauts practice regaining command of a spaceship that is tumbling out of control. It is made of two big metal rings that spin and flip. The trainee is strapped in a seat in the center ring. The two rings then move wildly in different directions. The mat is designed so that trainees should not become nauseated or dizzy while riding. If you have ever seen Gravity, the movie by Alfonso Cuarón, something similar is what happens here. They try to train you in something going out of control. What would you do in that situation? The 1/6 gravity chair. This simulator lets trainees jump around as if they were walking on the moon. There, gravity is 1/6 that of Earth. The simulator helps trainees get used to moving around when they feel much lighter than normal. The 1/6 gravity chair is modeled after a similar chair astronauts used for moonwalk training. Math minute. If a person weighs 27 kilograms or 59.5 pounds on Earth, how much would that person weigh on the moon? The Space Shot and G-Force Accelerator. Roller coaster riders will enjoy Space Shot at a space camp in Alabama. It shoots riders upward at high speed. Those who ride the Space Shot feel as though their bodies are much heavier than normal due to the pressure. The G-Force Accelerator is a spinning ride. It spins quickly, creating a pressure that pushes against the body. It creates the same amount of force astronauts feel during a rocket launch. The Space Shot shoots riders 42.7 meters or 150 feet high in 2.5 seconds. Some trainees walk inside the simulators and operate controls as if they are flying a shuttle. Like Alex, the engineer, right? In our Superminds Time Traveler story. Simulated missions. Simulated space missions are another popular space camp activity. Teamwork and leadership are important parts of being a good astronaut, and these missions let trainees practice both skills. At some camps, they take part in video game-like simulations. One mission has participants launch the shuttle. They fly it to the International Space Station and then dock with the International Space Station. Team members perform their own duties, but they must also talk with each other on their headsets. Some trainees work as astronauts. Others work in mission control, the command center, back on Earth. Some simulated missions include voyages to the moon. Others takes place on models of a space station. The crew must be prepared to think fast if the simulator makes up an emergency. For example, they might have to deal with a simulated meteor shower. For older trainees, a few space camps have created simulations for future missions, including a mission to Mars. Here it says, campers repair a model of the Hubble telescope during a simulation. The Hubble telescope is a telescope that is not on this planet, is orbiting around the Earth. Space Camp Heroes. Here are a few astronauts and scientists who have either graduated from space camps or supported programs that help young people learn about space. Dr. Leroy Chiao. This veteran NASA astronaut is now head of the Houston Association for Space and Science Education. Chiao does live streaming visits with students and trainees around the world. Babak Ferdowsi, an aeronautical and astronautical engineer. Ferdowsi is planning a future mission to send a robotic probe to Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Samantha Cristoforetti. This space camp trainee became a fighter pilot for Italy's Air Force. In 2014 to 2015, Cristoforetti served on the ISS for 199 days. Robert Hood Gibson. Robert Gibson, a big supporter of space camps, is a veteran of 5 space shuttle missions in the 1980s and 1990s. Michael E. Lopez Alegría. Michael Lopez Alegría served on 4 space shuttle missions. He has also been a speaker at Space Camp Turkey. Astronauts of the future. Today's space camp trainees may be the astronauts of tomorrow, like Dr. Kate Robbins. NASA is working closely with other space programs to plan a mission to Mars. They hope the mission will take place in the 2030s. Current space camp trainees could be part of that mission. They could be the first people to leave footprints in the red soil of Mars. They will continue our reach for the stars. Now we have some homework to do in the platform. In writing, you're going to pretend attending a space camp. You're going to write a letter to a friend telling him or her about your experiences. Be sure to include details from the book. So remember, it's not inventing everything. You can use the ideas of the book to tell maybe a friend how exciting it is to be in the space camp. Another post will be a research of a space mission. Any space mission is fine. Try to choose more than the Apollos because, well, most of us are interested in the Apollos, but what about the Hubble? The Hubble is a very interesting space mission. Or what about when they build the International Space Station? Yes. Make a brochure about the mission, including its goal, what resulted from it, and other important information. Present your brochure to the class. Brochure is un panfleto o un folleto. So in the platform, you're only going to write the text. The important thing is the goal, what resulted from it, and other important information about any space mission, okay? So please do both of these in the Superminds platform blog. Moving on to our exercises, the first page of activity says instructions. List the important details from one section of the space camp. Then use information to create a summary of that section in the summary box. So you're going to choose one section. Any section or subtitle of the book is fine. You're going to write it here. Then you're going to write who they talk about, what they talk about, when that happened, where that happens, why that happens, and a brief summary. Any subtitle of the story is fine. Next page. Choose the correct verb from parentheses for each sentence and write the word on the line. So, it's easy. You only have to choose which is the best. Next, record the main idea of a space camp in the middle box. Then, identify the main idea and 3 details from each section of the book. So, the sections of the book are the subtitles. What do you think is the main idea of the book? Then, in section 1, or the first subtitle, you're going to write it here. The first subtitle is Introduction, so you're going to write here what is the idea of the introduction and small details that the introduction gives us, okay? And that will be all for all the exercises that we're up to do. Last but not least, remember to check all of the exercises of the PDF file, the extra videos, and solve the exercises of the reading project and do the 2 writings of the platform, okay? We're going to check them in a while. So, see you in a few minutes, kids. Bye!